Good evening. Welcome back to Marty's Tying Bench. Once again, I'm putting together kits for this week's Vice Squad, and I've chosen a Mike's Honey Ant. The Mike in this case is Mike Lawson. I've already substituted a whole bunch of materials, but the basic construction is the same, and Mike's definitely the inspiration for this pattern. I see a lot of copper rust-colored ants on some of the still waters early in the morning, and the fish cruising and picking up on them, so this serves an important purpose in my fly box. Now, any dry fly hook will do. This one happens to be a Riki 070. And I'm going to start the thread in the middle of the hook. This is kind of an index. Everything behind the black is going to be my ABDOMEN colors. And for dubbing here, I've got Hare's Ice. It's rabbit dubbing with ice dub blended in. Now, this is going to be spiky and messy, and I know that, and I think the spiky stuff probably helps with the flotation once you get your frog's fanny or other dry fly powder on it. But if you want your ants to be neat, you probably need to use superfine. This one, you're going to have all kinds of little strays, and even if you get them all the first time you fish it and the fish chews on it, it's going to start getting fuzzy again. So work with it. For legs, I'm using Krystal Flash, and I think the original pattern called for a UV copper. This one is an amber of some sort. And just carefully install that on the top of the hook with crossing wraps. But you see, I only made a couple of wraps, and if you keep those snug, that's not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay right where you put it. You don't need to make a whole bunch of wraps. Now, for a wing, going to be using some Parapost. Any kind of Antron yarn will work. This stuff is, it's kind of bound up in a few of these places, so take your time before you get started and use a bodkin or the hook on your whip finishing tool. Just kind of tease those out until they're straight. There we go. Now for this size, I'm just going to need about half the volume. And I'm going to cut those off square. And get them started on the front, and then tug on it a little bit until all those tips are behind the eye. Now I'm ready for the front dubbing, and for that I'm using Senyo's Fusion in Tabacco color. This is the copper color that I like. And these are longer fibers, and this is going to be even messier, but I'll trade neatness for the right color. Dub it on there as firmly as you can. Now, the head part doesn't have to be very big. The whip finish. And to get these things to length, just stroke all the legs and the wing back, and make it cut just a little longer than the fly, and that'll give you pretty good proportions. And if you just can't stand it, go in there and try and trim, but I'm telling you, don't worry about it. This is going to work just like that. You see the separation I left between the front and the back? I think that's helpful. You don't want to dub all the way back until the colors are right next to each other. You want that skinny waist in between the front and the back. So there you have it, Mike's honey ant.